Hello everyone! We got a variety of news from different sources relating to Sonic Frontiers recently. Collectively, they paint a rather interesting picture about what we should expect. Some of the leaks are in fact true. There are numerous points that confirm they had the right idea. There are some old references resurfing that have not been used in the franchise for quite some time, and there's also a little bit of contradictory information from multiple official sources. However, one of the most important aspects that's become available to us is the fact that the footage we have been seeing is of an earlier build. Now, it was unclear if we were seeing the current version of the game or if it was something that was a little bit held back, and IGN have confirmed what they have shared is from before, but I must stress that they still didn't clarify how far in the past it was. It could have been only a couple months, it could have been at the time it was the most recent whenever they played it, it could have been a year old, we don't know, but it is undeniable now that this was not the most recent build. Although I think everyone at least knew this wasn't the final build, we now know that they are declaring it an earlier build, but to the extent of which we don't know for sure. We are told by IGN's hand-on preview that at the beginning of the game, Sonic, Tails and Amy get sucked in by a wormhole, and that Sonic's friends will then go missing for the rest of the gameplay. This makes it hard to believe that Tails and Amy at least will be playable, purely because they've become a story objective. They're people that need to be saved, a lot like in Generations I would imagine, and they weren't playable in Generations, and the gameplay here seems very Sonic focused. It's not ruling it out completely, but this setup makes it less likely, in my opinion, that we'll see them. But it must be said, some of the leaks claimed that Tails, Amy and others would be unlocked as playable characters later into the game, and it is quite possible that this time around, once you save them, you unlock them. Although I wouldn't bet on it at the moment. Whilst we're mentioning Amy, this is relating to when I said there are official sources that have ended up contradicting each other. In the original trailer we saw, not the teaser, the trailer, where Sonic hears a voice, we thought that might be the Ghost Girl or an AI or something, but we were told by the subtitles that it was Amy. However, IGN have said that Sonic hears an AI voice in his head whilst he's trying to save his friends, and the voice is described not only as an AI, but separately from Tails and Amy. So the AI voice wouldn't be Amy, unless perhaps there was an AI clone, which is complete speculation. But if we just look at the facts, the AI voice is said to be a separate entity from Amy, and we were told that the voice we hear in the trailer is Amy. So what's going on here? Was that a cover-up on purpose by Sega, so that they could keep the story surprise for longer, and that it wasn't Amy? Is it Amy and we just randomly both hear her voice and the AI voice, which would be strange? Or was I onto something when I was saying the voice is a clone? And is that interesting? I don't know, we don't know enough, but it's a contradiction of information at the very least. Knuckles the Echidna wasn't left in the dark though. We saw a small teaser for what's going to be an animated short featuring Knuckles, which acts as a prequel to the story of Sonic Frontiers. All we know is it will come out before the game does. In this, we see Knuckles on Angel Island as it was portrayed in the Adventure series, in a storm, looking quite somber, and then that's it. We barely see anything, but it's enough to know that Knuckles is somehow involved in the plot, and perhaps even more than Amy and Tails, considering he's not with them when they go missing, and we're told that this show he's going to be featured in is a prequel to the game. What's also interesting though is the Master Emerald being in shot behind him. The games have not seriously considered the Master Emerald, maybe as late back as Sonic Adventure 2. It's been mentioned after then, but I'm talking about seriously used. Adventure 2 might actually have been the last time. So the fact they're showing it here as a prequel, yes, since it's a prequel, it doesn't mean it will be in the game, but it's being acknowledged at the very least, which is a big step. And Knuckles might be more important than he's been in a while. Maybe this is a sign they're going to bring him back to form a little bit and away from his more recent portrayals where the Emerald and Angel Island weren't really present in his motives anymore. That would be nice to see. I should note though that this does appear to be a similar scenario where although he's not missing, it wouldn't be playable from the start. I will admit that him not being kidnapped like the others may actually support multiple playable characters, because that would make more sense that you find Knuckles on your own and unlock him once you find him, and that means if you can unlock Knuckles, why not Tails and Amy? So there is that. For now though, I'm going to hedge my bets and assume that the closest we're going to get is having Shadow as a playable skin or a completional unlockable character. Anything else would be great, but I'm not expecting it. And although we guessed it, we now know that Sonic does in fact collect the experience to level up and learn new skills. It's possible that this is going to be a bit of a blend of the just stat boosting levels we saw from Unleashed, and then skill trees and perks that we are more familiar with other RPGs. If this works that way, what would happen is you would get some perks that increase your base stats, maybe movement speed, damage, things like that, and others would unlock new moves like the spin cycle, and well, that's probably at the start of the game, but you know what I mean. In fact, speaking of new moves, it's important to bring up the Lightspeed Dash is in this game. We don't see footage of it, but the IGN preview mentions the Lightspeed Dash is in the game, and they also mention a parry mechanic that works alongside the dodge, and if you parry just right, you'll get an opening for more damage, a lot like in Dark Souls, like the dodge. Interestingly, on that very tanky enemy, he said that you could parry when it throws its shell as a buzzsaw to send the buzzsaw flying away, which presumably would mean you could just beat up the legs because the shell isn't coming back. And that, if true, would be amazing, because one of the big concerns I and many other people had with that enemy as an example was that it seemed like it would take forever to defeat even if you knew what you were doing. But if they're saying you can parry its attack away to properly disable its defenses, that is a good inclusion for the combat system. More information was shared about the function of bosses in the game. There was no clarification on if you get experience from them, which I still hope is the case, but regardless, you do get these new gear items from them, and the way they work is after you collect enough of them, you're able to open up the Cyberspace. And yes, this is confirmed, Cyberspace, just as many of the leaks said they would be. These are more traditional Sonic levels that are accessed through the gears we now understand that you collect from bosses, and you complete them. They were described as bite-sized though, so I would imagine they're short levels, not full levels. So probably Sonic Forces long. But yeah, so they're in. The leaks were correct on that as well. In fact, the leaks have been correct on a surprising amount of this. They knew about the spin cycle, they knew about the Ghost Girl, they knew about the strange AI, they got Cyberspace correct, and some of them have been saying multiple playable characters. So there's a lot to hopefully look out for in the future. What does bite-sized modern stages mean though? Well, we also hear that these have challenges associated with them. So one level might have a time attack option, another one might have red rings. Now these are not mandatory, but by completing enough of these tasks are how you earn the Chaos Emeralds. So yes, the Chaos Emeralds are earnable directly in gameplay in a slightly different take to special stage, but still not story related. You get them through gameplay. They might be required for story progression, but you do collect them yourselves through optional challenges. You can probably repeat failed, well I say failed, a time attack on a mission that you already did but didn't complete the time attack. I'm sure if you collect gears, you can do it again and retry. So this is what forms the gameplay loop. explore the overworld, fight the enemies, level up to get stronger, defeat the bosses to collect your gears, and use those to enter the cyberspace, and then not only beat the cyberspace levels, but complete enough of the challenges to unlock the Chaos Emerald. This is the full loop as far as we can tell right now, and IGN seem to support this idea. How do I feel about that? Well, it's definitely got more to it now. We have a purpose in this open world. Run around and find the bosses, basically. The bite-sized, again, it's really hard to know what they mean by that. Maybe some are longer than others. If they're all short, then the focus is clearly solely on the open world, so the grind, the systems, the loop would have to be entertaining. If some of those cyberspace missions are sizable though, it will complement them and make it easier to enjoy the game. So it's possible that this will be a lot smoother than what we've been led to believe so far. And of course, there was the new boss that they had shown off as well. Some strange purple dragon-like thing that creates a temporary platform behind it, which Sonic is of course fast enough to chase after. This boss looked a whole lot more finished than the giant one we've been seeing until now. And it actually looked quite interesting. So you're running across its back as it shoots projectiles and you move and jump over them, and eventually it will station itself, create a platform that you can then stand up on to hit the main head. This reminds me quite a bit of some of those boost sections from Sonic Unleashed, and I guess Colors as well, where you would be sidestepping to dodge enemies on a narrow pathway. And then the Werehog sort of circular platform boss fights in its second phase when it creates the disc you stand on and try to hit its head. Definitely a way better showing than the bigger one. I would assume the reason they showed us the bigger one is because it was in the CGI trailer, it's giant, Sonic's small, it's a big shock value. Problem is it wasn't as finished as it could have been. This purple one definitely does a better job at showing what the boss fights can be like. I don't know how you start it considering it's in the air, but however that works, you fight this to get your gears. I can see this being fun. Hopefully there's multiple variants on them so that they're not all the same, but yeah, this is definitely a better showing for the bosses. With all this new information, I have to say Sonic Frontiers is looking like it has a far brighter future than I initially thought. I must state once again, however, that expectations should be managed until we see up-to-date gameplay. Keep in mind that not all the rumours have been confirmed or denied yet. For example, the Chow Garden, we've not heard heads or tails about it. What's my opinion of the game now? I am cautiously looking forward to seeing more. Keep in mind that the problems that have been identified from the previous showings are real, they just may have been out of date. So until I see up-to-date gameplay, I can't be certain. With that all said, time to open the floor up to you guys. What do you think about this new information, and how do your thoughts on the game adapt around them? Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share it around to keep the conversation going. If you've got any examples of ideas I missed in this analysis, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and have a great day. I hope to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.